Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the beginning of Saving Grace, a novel by LaPortia Mitchell. I thought it was important for me to put this in audio because when you hear the title Saving Grace, I think a lot of people may think it's like a Christian novel or something of that nature, and it's the complete opposite. So I decided to put it in audio. So starting from the beginning, Saving Grace, a novel by LaPortia Mitchell. You may actually hear me turning the pages. We have a meet the author portion, and then we have a table of contents. So on the meet the author portion, it says LaPortia, who lovingly goes by Portia, is an IT professional, entrepreneur, podcaster, YouTuber, and most importantly, a mom residing in the beautiful city of Augusta, Georgia. She believes everyone has a purpose and wants to help others cultivate their purpose by doing the work. Portia has done her work, and though healing is a continuous effort, she knows it is time to share her God-given gifts with the world. Continue to follow her journey on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, podcast, or TikTok. And we have the table of contents. The first chapter, chapter 1, which I will be reading today, is We Never Saw It Coming. So let's get ready. This is coming from Paloma. Paloma is the older sister of Parker in my story. Wow. So this is it. I have felt so many emotions since my sister's unexpected death, but as I left the church last night to ensure everything was perfect and in order, I felt a strange feeling of peace. I knew I had to be strong for my father, brother, and daughter. No matter what, I had to be the strong one. As I brushed my daughter's hair, she asked, "Mommy, where did Auntie Parker go?" "What do you mean, where did she go?" I asked, shockingly. "She went where all angels go, to heaven." As I tied her 2 baby pink ribbons on her pigtails, I admired her serene face, then inquired, "How do you feel about Auntie Parker no longer being here, baby love?" My 10-year-old responded in a very mature manner. "To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. That's what Grandpa told me. And heaven is like a huge ice cream shop filled with many flavors and endless praise to God. I cannot wait to see Auntie Parker again," she concluded. I motioned for her to head to the bathroom and wash her face while I finished getting ready and ensured David, my husband, didn't need anything else. "Sweet," I called out, to no response. I walked down the hallway a little to find him in the den watching a basketball game. I didn't have the strength to yell. I would need all my strength to bury my baby sister. "David," I said in a near whisper, "do you need anything before I finish getting dressed? Phoenix is ready and I will be soon." "No, sweetheart, but thank you. I am getting ready to grab my coat, then I'll bring the truck around for you guys so we can head to your dad's house. Have you talked to Paris today?" "You know he takes forever to get dressed." He smiled. "You are right. I will send him a text now." I leaned in to kiss my husband. "I love you, babe. Thank you for being my strength." I hadn't cried since the day I found out about Parker's death, and I was not going to allow myself to fall apart the day of her service. I would have my time to grieve, and today is not the day. I dressed myself in a soft pink Versace dress. My sister was a girly girl. I requested all immediate family and close friends to wear something pink, no matter the shade. I wanted Parker to smile down from heaven and be proud of her big sister. We made it to my dad's house. Paris had a bottle of Crown Royal on the counter. It was near empty. "Don't you think you need to slow it down, brother? We are heading to the house of the Lord," I asked, concerned. He responded in a very calm voice. "The good Lord knows my heart. I have to bury my little sister today after she offed herself. I think I will get a pass." I did not have time to fuss. I grabbed him a cold washcloth and an aspirin, then I went to go and check on my father. "Hey, Dad, do you need help with anything?" I questioned. "You are so beautiful, just like your mother, just like my dear Parker. Am I not good enough? No one wants to stay around and enjoy life with an old man?" he said behind a teary gaze. One thing I admired about my dad is he did not mind showing his emotions. It is in him expressing his feelings where I saw his true strength. Don't talk like that. It's nonsense, I exclaimed. You just make sure you stick around for Paris, Phoenix, and I, okay, Daddy? He nodded yes, but I know Parker's death touched him in a way he did not expect. As the cars arrived to pick up the family, I noticed one of Parker's dear friends, Harley, was not in attendance. This was not like her. My sister and her friends were extremely close. I'll solve that riddle at a later time. Right now, I have to make sure everything falls into place and goes as planned, I assured myself. We all headed out, one by one, entering the white Mercedes limo, and in front of us, sure enough, was a hearse. The hearse which would carry Parker Grace to her final resting place. Baby girl, what made you think we could handle this? I thought silently as I shut the door to the limo. As we arrived, it was a beautiful day. I think it had rained all week, but today the sun shined so bright. I gripped David's hand as he gripped Phoenix's. My dad and Paris were the last two to exit, but the first two to enter the church. I took a deep breath. There were so many people who came out to support the Grace family. I'm not surprised. People tend to forget how valuable you are. How any day could be your last until, well, you are no longer here on earth. And they are paying their last respects at your funeral. The setup was nice. Huge bouquets of sunflowers mixed with red roses surrounding the church, her favorite arrangement. A mass choir dressed in blush, the casket placed directly in front of us, all white with no flowers, and a beautiful canvas painting of my baby sister seemingly glowed at the altar. Everything was so white and pristine, a setting fit for an angel, which now she was. As we were being seated, I noticed Parker's second grade art teacher tucked in the corner with her oldest daughter, Laura. How sweet, I thought to myself. Not too far from Mrs. Douglas, in a huge blue hat and large Chanel shades, very bright blonde hair, and extremely low-cut black dress, I noticed an unexpected guest. See, she actually had the nerve to show her face here, I thought to myself, noticing my sister's longtime rival, Carly Jones, in the crowd of people. Their feud began as early as kindergarten. I laughed silently. I guess she finally beat her at something. She outlived her. A few days prior, I reluctantly placed the death announcement in our local newspaper on a Thursday, 2 days after the incident. I knew her death would be the talk of the town for the next few days, and I wanted to beat the gossipers to the punch. Since the family had not officially made a statement, naturally people began to make speculations. A few of the stories were ruthless. Daughter of mayoral candidate found dead of apparent suicide. Ouch. I hate my family had to live through this. Death is never easy. Look at my brother and father. They are devastated. What are we going to do without her? We always stuck together. My brother Paris is 4.5 years younger than me. He and Parker attended most of the same schools all of their lives until choosing different colleges. He wanted to explore the West Coast, feeling the vibe of California would inspire him daily. He attended USC and graduated at the top of his class with a degree in film. He recently moved back home, single and having profited well from 2 projects. He was ready to relax and enjoy the fruits of his labor. He unexpectedly gravitated towards the club and nightlife scene. Paris loved being best dressed. He craved the spotlight. He is known for having the latest shoes, designer gear, and love attending the hottest parties. This is what linked him to Parker's longtime love, Kendrick. Kendrick owned several of the hottest nightclubs, a lounge, and spa in the city. He was young, rich, and handsome. He and Parker went back and forth, but he knew she was the love of his life. Kendrick would call Parker anytime Paris started to get out of hand. He sometimes overdid it on the liquor and would get into it with the bouncers. I've heard stories of her being awakened out of her sleep at the crack of dawn to pick him up on multiple occasions. She arrives in her pajamas and them heading to Waffle House per his drunken request. I thought about Kendrick. My heart hurts for him. I know how much he loved her. But even his love wasn't enough. It was not enough to keep her here. She had to go. The universe had bigger plans. He walked in with the family and claimed a seat on the row behind us. I knew Parker would not have had it any other way. He wore an all-black Ralph Lauren suit with a rose-colored tie. He looked nice. Gucci shades covered his face, which looked less than refreshed after days of tears and Hennessy. As we sat in the front of the church, fanning and listening to the words of encouragement from her friend Kim, her boss Mariah, and classmate Jonathan, I didn't shed a tear. I comforted my daughter and held my husband's hand. He was there by my side as always. My dad is so strong. I know he will be okay without his baby girl. I imagine his life will continue. He will continue his run for office because a grace man never quits. As always, he tells us, grace women and my brother. He will petition for stricter laws on opioids and hold providers accountable who overprescribe. I see him vacationing and playing golf, continuing to cook his favorite meal on Sunday. Fried flounder, 3-cheese mac and cheese, potato salad, his famous green beans, and homemade corn cakes. He would never give us a secret recipe. With a single thought, I can taste them. I keep telling myself, Dad will be okay. No one expected this. She was always so happy. She was beautiful and knew it. Everyone knew it. We were well off, yet no amount of money or beauty could save her life. Parker shared stories with me of how she would awake almost every day after barely sleeping, hoping today would be a good day. Now reflecting on her life, she did have good days. A lot of really good days, ending with passionate sex in 5-star hotel rooms. She told me stories of traveling from city to city with the love of her life, a love so strong yet not enough. I remember days ending with lip-stained wine glasses, empty bottles along the bar, and Paris passed out on the couch. Those were the days, so free from hurt, regret, and shame. I imagine she felt nothing but bliss, numb to a deep, dark past filled with turmoil and disappointments. Voids that would never be completely filled, only hidden by alcohol, sex, good grades, money, and a pretty face. Her life brought joy to many, yet it wasn't enough. I closed my eyes as the choir began to sing I Need You Now by Smokey Norfield. I thought about my great-grandmother, telling me over and over how special Parker was. She would tell us of how she found out my mother was expecting her 3rd child after miscarrying about 6 months prior. It was a warm spring day in Georgia. Mama Persia would normally sit and rock on her huge porch early in the morning before the sun showed its glory. After she watched the sunrise and said her prayers, she came into her home, went into the gigantic country kitchen, and cooked breakfast for everyone, including the neighbors or a stranger. The kitchen was filled with so much love. The afternoon included the women in cleaning the kitchen and prepping for dinner, while the guys tended to the garden. These were simpler times. This morning, she noticed my mom leaving the bathroom. She motioned for her to come outside. "Patience," she whispered. "Yes, Mama? Are you going to tell me your secret?" She leaned forward and looked my mom directly in the eyes. "What secret, Mama?" "You're pregnant with a girl. Don't you know?" My mom knew, but she hadn't told anyone, not even my father. My mom sobbed to her mother, "Oh, Mama, what am I going to do with another baby?" Mama Persia responded, "Raise her," and hugged her daughter tight. I opened my eyes as Pastor Johnson took to the pulpit to memorialize my baby sister. There was not a dry eye in the building, but these were tears of joy and hope, which was strange given the occasion. The death of a young woman under 25 who took her own life because though she was surrounded by many, she felt alone. He prayed and asked God to remember me, O Lord. He cried out for those who felt alone and reminded them they are never alone because God will never leave us or forsake us. He offered his office if anyone ever felt like the load was too heavy. My door is always open for you. He closed his sermon. As he took his seat, the choir began to sing the sweetest rendition of Jesus Loves Me I have ever heard. I shed a tear knowing this would be my final goodbye. We were motioned to stand as we were the first to head out of the building. Our car awaited us. As we piled in, no one said a word. Phoenix, my daughter, finally broke the silence. I'm going to miss Auntie Parker. We always played dressed up together. I'm going to miss her as well, my sweet girl, I stated. We arrived at the graveyard. I don't even know how I got out of the car. It was all too real for me. Anxiety began to set in, and I couldn't believe my sister was gone. I would never hear her laugh or her crazy stories. She would never come to my home to critique my outfits before date night with my husband. She always wanted me to go sexier. Girl, you know the women of St. Anna are dying to get a taste of your man. Show them why he is never leaving, she teased. At this very moment, I heard her voice, loud and clear. Come on, Paloma. It has to be done. We released 23 white doves for each year of her precious life. A life cut too short at her own hands. On her obituary, we included the number to the suicide helpline. If her life did nothing else, I knew she would want her legacy to show she loved and cared for so many. It is the only way I choose to remember her. I kissed her coffin as it was shut and she entered the ground. I heard the faint voice of Pastor Johnson. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. She will be laid next to our mother. I pray she has found the peace she so desperately needed.